giving our remarks from here, or are we going to the podium?
Yeah, we're going to just sit here. He's going to stand up there the whole time.
Okay.
Good evening, everyone. My name is Bryant Davis. I'm the Assistant Director of Government and Community Services with Richland County, and I'll be your MC for this evening. Tonight, we'll be discussing Scout Motors investment in Richland County, and more specifically, right here in Blythewood. We are joined by your Blythewood Mayor, Brian Franklin, and Richland County Council Member, Derek Pugh. Here also to give details on the announcement are South Carolina Secretary of Commerce, Harry Licey, and Richland County Economic Development Director, Jeff Rubel. We appreciate them taking time out of their busy schedules to join us this evening. I would also like to give a particular welcome to some of our elected officials who are able to join us this evening. I did have listed here Senators John Scott, Mia McLeod, and Camberell Garvin. If you are here, definitely want to recognize you. I also want to make sure we recognize our our Richland County council members that are here as well. We have Councilwoman Jessica Mackey, Councilman Paul Livingston, who's here as well, Councilwoman Shakise Newton. We also have Councilwoman Gretchen Barron. And then we also have our Richland County Administrator, Mr. Leonardo Brown, here with us as well. We also have our Assistant County Administrator, Eric Jensen, and our Chair. Where did he go? Okay, Mr. Chair, you're making this a little tough for me this evening, okay, playing hide and seek. We have our Chair with us, Mr. Overture Walker. Thank you guys all for being here this evening, and we appreciate all that you do. We also have a few of our staff members here as well from our clerk's office and our communications office, so we're also thankful for them being here as well. This evening's guest panel will provide remarks outlining specifics on the project, and there will be an opportunity for them to address some of the questions, or some of your questions more specifically at the end. In the interest of time, we're asking people to submit their questions, and then I will read them and receive those from the panelists to share with the panelists we have today. If you'd like to send your questions during the opening remarks, essentially now, you can text those, and you can see on the screen here and on the screen in the back corner, that's 704-946-5521. Again, 704-946-5521. If you are unable to text your question, please raise your hand, and one of our staff members will provide you an index card and a pen for you to write down your question, right? We recognize there are varying opinions on this project and other projects that impact the Blythewood community. However, to ensure the effectiveness and efficiency of tonight's meeting, we ask that you remain respectful of each one of the speakers and panelists as they are speaking. We have allocated time to accept questions from the public. Our goal is to provide you with adequate information on the project and the benefits of it to the area. Members of the public will have an additional opportunity to provide input in a couple of different ways. One is through our next upcoming Richland County Council meeting on March 21st. You also can provide feedback. We have a survey in the back, a post-survey that you are able to leave your information that we'll be able to make sure we get those questions answered and review those with the appropriate people as well too. I will also be providing an email at the end, so hold your stuff there. I'll provide an email at the end that you can ask additional questions if your questions are not answered during tonight's conversation. Now, I'd like to start and hand over the microphone to our mayor, to Blythewood Mayor Brian Franklin, to get us started.
Thank you, Brian. I appreciate it. Mr. Secretary, thank you for being here, sir. Senator McLeod, Mr. Chairman, and distinguished members of Richland County Council, and distinguished guests, thank you all for being here. And those of you maybe watching at home, what a great day for Blythewood and Richland County. We should be tremendously proud that a world-class company like Scout Motors chose Richland County and specifically Blythewood to bring their newest project, Scout Motors, here in our backyard. The historic investment will bring thousands of jobs, reportedly 4,000 jobs. Salaried employees averaging $100,000 a year, hourly employees averaging $58,000 a year, which is $2,000 more than the median income of Richland County. The company's executives have told us that they looked at 74 other sites around the nation and finally settled on Blythewood. It just confirms what we here, most of us here already know. Blythewood's a great place to live, to send your kids to school, to raise your families. Convenient to every city in the state, I-77 corridor, I-20, I-95, I-26. We're truly the heart of the state of South Carolina. Scout officials have made it clear they're deeply committed to being productive and respectful neighbors, including by partnering with our local organizations, making significant contributions to our local philanthropic and community building endeavors, and ensuring that other local businesses also enjoy the benefits of economic growth in the area as a result of Scout's arrival. We're working closely with all of our partners here in the county and state level to ensure that positive growth that comes as a result of this project will be managed sustainably and the benefits will be spread equitably throughout Blythewood and the surrounding region. To that end, I'm pleased to introduce my good friend and neighbor, Councilman Derek Pugh.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Protocol has already been established, and I want to welcome the community, the constituents, to this meeting. As I have for the last 3 years, made sure that your voices have been heard, especially when it's something that's going to affect the quality of your life. I know this is an exciting time for us in Blythewood, and it's also a scary time for us in Blythewood. We have neighbors that have been here for years that don't want to see their quality of life diminished. I have had the opportunity to live here in Blythewood for over 7 to 8 years, and I can honestly say, I see and I understand exactly what you mean. I'm old enough as a resident here to know that it used to take me 15 minutes to get to Blythewood High School. Now it takes me 35 minutes to get to Blythewood High School. But our community is very, very special. When my wife and I decided to move here, Blythewood was at the top of our list because it gave us the city feel, but also the country feel, because you know I'm from the metropolitan area of Dillon, South Carolina, and this fits right home. So I want to say to you, as I have done for the last 3 years, your voices will be heard. I'll make sure that I'm the last person to leave here this evening, along with the county staff, to make sure that we get your questions and your contact information so we can make sure that we deliver a solid answer to you and make sure that you feel comfortable about what's going on. It's also my duty to let you know that we do understand that this can't and will not be the last opportunity for you to have your voices heard. We have to have smaller events, I call them education sessions, because with something of this magnitude coming to our community, it's only right for us to do our due diligence to make sure that every citizen feels like they're being heard and understood and understand what this project is. So with that being said, I'm excited for the future of Blythewood as we continue to move forward. And hopefully the things that we are experiencing right now as far as traffic and other things in our community will be alleviated from this great partnership with Scout Motors. If this great company had not decided to come to Blythewood, we would still be dealing with traffic issues. And I think that this project is going to help us move forward and alleviate some of the stressors that we have on our infrastructure. So with that being said, I'm looking forward to hearing all the great questions this evening, and welcome to our town hall.
All right, we're going to go ahead and turn it over to our Economic Development Director, Mr. Jeff Rubel, and I believe you have a presentation for us as well.
Thank you, Brian. I think he's loading the PowerPoint presentation, but to echo Councilman Pugh's comments, I think our goal here tonight is to be as open, transparent, and honest, candid with you as we can be. The goal tonight is to give you every piece of information we can give you. There are certain technical aspects that I won't be able to address, and because of that, and want to give you as much knowledge or information as we can, I asked some of our partners to come to the meeting with me. We have Allison Bush and Corey Wise with Thomas and Hutton Engineering. They've been working 24/7 on this project since it started, and also Tony Jabon with Trinity Consulting in Charlotte. So if there's a technical question, I'm going to probably defer to them. So I have a few slides. Promise I won't kill you by PowerPoint. First off, newsflash, Blythewood's growing, and it's growing independent of anything that we've done in economic development. You've got a good community here. You've got good schools, good quality of life, good cost of living. People are going to come here. And I've worked across the region through my years. I saw some of the same things happen in Lexington County. And they were saying, we got to stop the growth. And I said, you can't. You just don't have that option. What you can do is try to control it. So you're looking for good quality growth, and hopefully that's part of our conversation tonight. As you can see, with growth comes cost. You've got two brand new high schools on either side of this site. Just some simple math. The average homeowner in Richland County pays about $3,200 a year in property taxes. I'm sorry, let me reverse that. They pay about $500 in property taxes. It costs $3,200 a year to provide education and other resources from government. So essentially, the county takes a loss on each residence. How do we balance the books? Well, we got two options. We can raise taxes, and the tax rate in this community is among the highest in the country. So raising taxes further, just not really all that palatable. The other thing we can do is try to grow the tax base. I mentioned schools. 75% of the revenues coming into the county go to Richland School District 2 in this area. So we're not doing this to line the coffers of the county. We're doing this to support the residents and the kids and the community here. So I guess we start at the beginning. How did we get here? In 2014, we optioned a piece of property by Pete Barnett. He was the owner. That's the property in red. And then a few years later, in 2018, 2019, we started having conversations with the Swigerts. The Swigerts were farmers here on Blythewood Road, and we had some interesting conversations. We sat down with Margaret Swigert and two of her three boys, and we talked about the fact that they were getting offers every day from residential developers. And they might have been able to make more money, but at the end of the day, they told us, we want this land to go for something that'll make a difference in the community. Flash forward, we ended up in November of 2019 purchasing the property. And we master planned it in conjunction with town council and the community. We came up and we rezoned. We heard from a lot of you. We listened to you. At the time, we thought this is how it would develop. It would be a number of smaller buildings in an industrial park. Something happened along the way, though. In about 2021, they passed the Inflation Reduction Act, and that changed the landscape. All of a sudden, we started seeing major projects looking at the site. They were single users, so they wanted 1,000 acres or so. It's about 1,000 acres north of the power line. We talked to any number of companies. We actually turned down companies, and we did that because we didn't think they'd be good neighbors or good employers. We think that's changed, and thank goodness we did turn those companies away. So, along about December, just before Christmas, we got our first visit from the Scout Motors team. And over the course of about 2 months, we take out Christmas, we worked tirelessly. They brought in teams of German engineers. So Scout Motors is owned by VW. They brought them all from northeastern Germany. They came in at 25 at a time, and we broke up into breakout sessions. And I can only hope to be able to describe the level of detail they drilled down to. It was a tedious, arduous process, but finally it led to the announcement. So just real quickly, you've got, I guess, about 1,100 acres within the fence line. The total site's about 1,600 acres. $2 billion in investment, 4,000 jobs. The secretary to my left was able to get funding for a new interchange, which we think will solve a lot of the problems, or at least alleviate a lot of the problems from the traffic on Blythewood Road. I think you know Blythewood Road's already, I think they're doing a pre-construction meeting next week. There'll also be major improvements at both interchange, or the I-27 and Blythewood, exit 27 on Blythewood Road. There'll be major improvements there, as well as at Highway 21. With this will come improvements to the fire station. There'll be stipends for workers there at the facility. There's a number of investments that the county and the state are making in the community. We're trying not to create new problems, but to help solve ones that are already an issue. As I think the governor got a call on March 3rd from the CEO of the company, and at that time I started getting text messages and emails. I think I counted 125 text messages that day. I can't count how many emails, but there's one that came to me, and I kind of held it aside. It was from Norm Swigert, and he said, "Hey, just want to congratulate you. Scout seems like a very fitting new tenant at what was our property, especially since we were kids. We were driving around in Scouts and Broncos out there." He said, "This will be a manufacturing high-tech 70s retro vehicles on the old Swigert farm. That's just really cool. I'm going to be the first one to get in line so I can get one straight off the line." Norm Swigert. I think, his wishes, I think we're meeting those. He wanted to make a difference in the community. I think this site and this project will live up to all that. I think we're getting a good neighbor and a good employer. Last, Councilman Pugh mentioned there's a lot of other opportunities to speak. This is just a list of some of the items. Richland County will be back here in front of the town on several different occasions. So this is just beginning the conversation. I look forward to having more conversations. If you see me afterwards, don't hesitate to grab me. I'm always happy to talk. With that said, I'm going to close and I'm going to turn it over to Secretary of Commerce, Harry Lightsey.
Well, good evening. It says a lot to see all of y'all here, and it says a lot about this community and your engagement, involvement. So thank you for being here. Thank you for your time. Thank you for coming to hear about Scout Motors. Jeff has gone through some of the time frame of it, and it has been an incredible process. But one thing, one thought that I thought I would leave you with is Blythewood will be the home of Scout Motors. And there just really aren't that many places in this world that can say that they are a home to a major auto brand. Think about BMW in the upstate. They've certainly been there for 30 years, but their home is in Germany. Volvo down in Berkeley County will be there for decades to come, but their home is in Sweden. Scout Motors' home will be right here in Blythewood. And they are a startup. There are less than 40 employees at Scout Motors right now. I think somebody was just telling me they just posted their first 3 jobs for here in Blythewood. So go check that out. But they are so excited to be here in Blythewood. And I think they are really, truly looking forward to meeting you and meeting the community as soon as they possibly can. So, from that perspective, I think this is just very, very different. And I think this is what makes this project truly transformative and truly exciting. that this will be the home of Scout Motors. Just from the state perspective, and I'm happy to discuss the investment that the state is making in this area. It is significant. It is certainly by far and away the largest investment the state has ever made in a community in association with an economic development project. I think what Jeff said, bears out. This property was going to be developed as an industrial property one way or the other. The opportunity we have with Scout that's really unique is the opportunity for the state to make this significant investment, to build this highway interchange, to improve the roads around the site, to address not only traffic that will be coming into the facility itself, but to address traffic problems that y'all already have. So it wouldn't have happened for any of these other, if it had been developed as originally planned, that kind of investment for the state would have never been possible. So this is a unique opportunity. It's a unique opportunity for us to invest in your community, to build your community for the future. And we're very excited about that. And I'll wrap up with that.
All right. Thank you, gentlemen. It is now time for our Q&A. We've already received a number of questions. However, if there are more, again, that screen is going to go back up in the front and in the back. You can text those to 704-946-5521, or you can raise your hand and a staff person will provide you with an index card and you can, with a pen, and you can write that question down as well. So our first question. Hi, I'm excited about Scout Motors' investment in South Carolina, specifically in Blythewood. However, I'd like to know how the facility will affect our current infrastructure, for example, water, roads, sewer, traffic, etc.
So I guess, do we want to get into the details of roads? Is that a good idea? I'm going to ask Allison Bush to step up. Allison is a civil engineer with Thomas & Hutton. She had worked for the county, so she's very familiar with both the Blythewood road widening, but she has been point person on all the road improvements.
Okay, so can everybody hear me? No, good? Okay. So last year, when we had a company looking at this property, they had an estimate of 3,000 employees. So at that time, we went ahead and performed a traffic study to see what that traffic would do to the neighborhood, to the area, and what improvements would be needed for that. That company did not land, but when Scout came in with their 4,000, we already knew we were going to have to do these base projects. Now, we may have to do more. We're going to do an updated traffic study in the next few weeks. So what the first study kind of showed that needed to be done is widening Blythewood Road from Syrup Mill to Muller and doing improvements at Muller because there's a lot of traffic at that school there. It was going to be adding a second turn lane from Muller onto Blythewood. The second one is going to be widening Community Road to 4 lanes. And that'll go from Blythewood to the new interchange and down to Highway 21. At the interchange, we're going to have a connector road that goes, it'll connect to Community to the west, and it'll connect to Highway 21 to the east with a new connector road. That connector road will also be 5 lanes. At the intersection of Blythewood and I-77, we propose to add a free flow turn lane from Blythewood onto 77. So this will allow traffic trying to turn right. They won't have to wait for the oncoming traffic to turn left. They will be able to turn and merge down to 1 lane at the same time. So that should free that up to move a little bit faster. Down at 21 and Community Road, we project to install a second turn lane, left turn lane from Community onto Blythewood Road. Onto 21. One aspect that the Germans requested that we are also looking at doing is installing a roundabout at the I-77-21 ramp coming south. We don't know that the traffic study would show that, but we do want to look at that to see if it would alleviate any traffic from traffic coming 77 south and trying to turn left on the 21 to then come up to Community. So those are the projects we have proposed right now as far as traffic, but again, the updated traffic study could show that we need more.
All right, so our next question. The new industrial campus is going to require water and additional power. Where is the water coming from? Where is additional power capacity coming from? Is there a new power plant being planned?
I think I can address that. So from a water standpoint, they're not a huge user. They're a large user for the City of Columbia. City of Columbia will provide water. To give you an idea on that, when Mark Anthony Bruin announced a couple of years ago, they were at 3 million gallons a day. The excess capacity of the city system is close to 100 million gallons a day. That's excess capacity. So the city has a lot of water, and this is not a huge user. From a power standpoint, the site has a major transmission line right through the middle of it. It's still a competitive. So right now, Dominion and Fairfield Electric are both seeking to serve the plant. But from either way, I think the company is going to put a priority on green power. So they want this to be a green facility.
Thank you, Jeff. Our next question. During this process, will there be road closures or detours? We are concerned about traffic issues. You just want to stand here beside me and then we can just do that.
No, we do not plan to close any roads. We do anticipate at least one lane being open to traffic in both directions.
The signalized intersection of, I think this is Reimer Pond Road, would be an ideal location for a new intersection versus introducing a new signaling intersection on an already congested corridor. Was this option explored? And if so, why wasn't this chosen given the improved flow it would provide?
Is this in reference to the new connector road? And it very well could be. That's not a final location. That's just a concept. When we do our traffic study, we will analyze the possible new intersection along with the intersection with Reimer Pond. And if it does not make sense to have a new intersection, we won't do it. We would bring it into Reimer Pond. We just haven't done that analysis yet. That's correct.
Right. This one, let's see here. So how quickly will the hiring take place, and when do you expect people, I guess, working at the facility to begin moving here?
Yeah, so they're going to be, obviously, they're going to be in construction for a period of time. They want to begin that very quickly. And in order to meet their goal to be in production in 2026, I would expect them to really start ramping up their hiring at some point in possibly late 24 or early 25 into 25 as they finish out the construction and begin to staff up the facility.
Thank you, sir. Our next question is someone would like to know about noise and smog pollution generated by the plant?
Corey Wise with Thomas and Hutton. He is the hardest working guy I know. He's been working 24/7 on this, so he knows everything about it.
All right. Good evening. Let's see. No problem. So noise and smog pollution. From a noise standpoint, there will be substantial buffers along the property lines, especially along anywhere you've got a residential adjacent to this project, which will follow Town of Blythewood requirements of 50 feet. But the facility itself and the rail will be at a minimum, a football field away from those property lines. So you'll have not only a tree buffer, but just an offset from those property lines as well that should help reduce those noise pollutions. In terms of smog pollution, Tony, would you be able to speak for that?
Hello. As far as emissions go from the site, we're expecting those to have state-of-the-art controls on them. We're required, as part of getting the air permit, to compare ourselves to the latest and greatest automotive assembly plants across the country and match those or do better than those on the level of control. So we will be doing that over the next 3 to 4 months, and that application actually goes to both South Carolina and EPA for their approval before we can finalize our design and construction plans. In South Carolina, we generally do not have a smog problem. That is more for the western states. Smog is made up of two primary ingredients, and in South Carolina, we do not have one of those readily available, so we generally do not get smog anywhere in South Carolina.
I would just, I'd like to add, so this company, and Jeff already mentioned this, is they're going to be making this vehicle that is for work use, as a work vehicle, or a rugged outdoor vehicle. And they are very, very conscious of the environment. That is really part of why this company is starting. And their desire is to keep the impact on the environment surrounding the facility to the lowest possible level. And they will work very hard to accomplish that, to make it a truly world-class, world-leading facility in terms of its environmental impact.
And just to add in that, one night we were working late at my office. There were 25 of them in there, and it was 11 o'clock at night, and they were still going strong. They had ordered in pizzas, and I put out some water bottles just like this so that they could grab a water. None of them took it. They consider this waste. They're a green company.
All right, thank you, Jeff. Our next question, I'm going to go ahead and preface by saying I just spoke with Allison, and this will be a question she'll have to get back to you on, but I will read it out. I live on Firetown Road, which intersects Wilson Boulevard near the new proposed interchange. Will Firetown Road and Carl Harris Court be impacted? That will be a question that they will get back to you on, so we'll make sure we coordinate to figure. So if those questions either on the surveys you have, the email address I'll give you at the end, or with Jeff, we'll make sure that we get that question answered for you, okay? The next question is, will there be sidewalks added? And I'm not sure exactly where, I'm assuming this is near the plant.
So right now, the only sidewalks planned will be on the Blythewood widening from Syrup Mill to Muller. There are already sidewalks planned for the current county project of widening from the interstate to Syrup Mill, so we will tie in and can make that connection to the school. Community Road, Highway 21, they don't currently have sidewalks to tie into, so at this time, there's not any plans to install sidewalks there.
Just in terms of one of the things that the plant will bring to the community, and I mentioned this is their home. The current plan calls for them to build an off-road track so that potential customers or folks can come and have the Scout experience. So that will certainly be, I think, an asset to the community as well. It will be, outdoors in a very nice environmental situation.
And last, let me just mention, there is a budget of about $3.5 million budgeted for Blythewood Road. So there's a big buffer that we are committing to. Our goal is to put in landscaping that looks as good or better than the landscaping in front of Cobblestone Park.
All right. Our next question. Is the state and/or Richland County encouraging or requiring Scout to consider local vendors and suppliers for construction and land improvement contracts specifically? And is the state, county going to be involved in procuring those services, or will they all be procured directly by Scout?
Yeah, so let me address from the state perspective. Yes, we are going to encourage the company to establish relationships with local businesses. We've already opened a portal, and I think probably we can get that information to you, the internet address for that portal, where any company that wants to work with Scout can put their information into that portal, and we will make it available to the Scout Motors folks. I've been in discussions with them, and they certainly want to work with local companies as much as they possibly can. They look forward to that. It's part of establishing themselves in their home, and they understand that. I would say, in addition to that, we will probably conduct what we call B2B forums, where businesses can come and there will be representatives of the company there, and they can meet the representatives of the company and introduce themselves. We've had very good luck with that with other OEMs around the state, and certainly we'll do everything we can to encourage any business that wants to do business with Scout to be strongly considered by them.
And from the Richland County perspective, I am also the chair of the Office of Small Business, which we just reestablished in Richland County, and it's very important for us to get our vendors involved, not with just this project, but any project that we have in Richland County.
All right. Is there, or will there be any runoff, and how will that affect the environment?
So typical with any commercial, industrial, and development, there is going to be some stormwater runoff. We will put in detention ponds that'll be designed to meet or exceed all state and county regulations. So I do not expect any adverse effect on downstream properties or roads or residents, and that'll be a part of our stormwater analysis that we design and permit through the state.
With Scout Motors wanting to go green, does this mean wind turbines, solar panels, et cetera, that will be on their property? Do we know any specifics?
Yeah, so obviously they do want to go green. I don't think there are currently any plans for solar on the facility. I think solar is really the really only option for green energy in this area. There may be options for solar from areas around the facility if the land is available, but they will probably be looking to contract for the delivery of green energy to their facility through whoever their power provider is.
Thank you, sir. How are roads north of Blythewood going to be addressed?
That's probably something I would need specifics on to know which road is being asked about. Right now, the only road considered north of Blythewood will be Muller, and that would be the intersection up to the school.
Next question. It is my understanding that while Scout is heavily invested in by VW, it is still an independent company. Being that Scout is a startup, who is footing the bill, so to speak, for the construction? Additionally, what recourse does the county, state, and town have should Scout not fulfill their commitment?
Yeah, so let me talk about that. The state is paying to prepare the site for Scout Motors. So we will be putting in infrastructure, we'll be grading the site out so that it's ready for them to build their facility. And that will be largely the state's investment. Then obviously they will be investing their own $2 billion in creating their facility there as well. In terms of recourse, should they decide not to, the state will have a full ability to recover any money that has been paid to prepare the site for Scout, except for any public infrastructure that would remain. So the highway interchange, the railroad bridge overpass, the additional road work around the plant, we would not recover that amount of money, but any work expended on the site itself would be recoverable by the state. All of that is guaranteed by Volkswagen, which is the 7th largest company in the world. We feel that's a pretty solid guarantee, and probably about one of the closest things you could get to a T-bill that you wanted. So we feel very, very comfortable with that guarantee, even though Scout is a startup operation.
Thank you, Secretary. Our next question, I think, Allison, you talked about this some, but it's asking, can you provide specific timelines on both roadway improvements, one part you mentioned there, and then on-site construction?
Sure. So in the next few weeks, we're going to be starting design for all the road projects except for the interchange. That's going to be handled by DOT. I don't have a final timeline on that. We are anticipating 3 to 4 years on the interchange and the new connector road. As for all the other roads, we are anticipating 2024, 2025 for completion.
And I also asked about on-site construction. I'm not sure if we have any answers to the.
So, and I'm trying to remember my schedule here off the top of my head. I believe on-site construction is set to be complete mid-2026. Now, that includes building construction for this current phase, mass grading, big dirt moving jobs are supposed to be complete September of 2024. Now, that doesn't include the dates that Allison just mentioned here for the off-site roadway infrastructure.
All right, thank you both. Next question. On the map printed in the Voice on March 9th, there are several roundabouts shown, both on the Scout property and on Wilson. Is there a roundabout planned for the Syrup Mill entrance or for Community and Blythewood roads?
So for Blythewood Road, as you know, the county is going to be constructing the roundabout at Community near I-77. As far as the other intersection with Syrup Mill, no, at this time there's no plans to do a roundabout there. It was discussed, but that's not the final option that we are going with at this time. And as far as Community Road, there will be, for the north access into the site, there will be a roundabout and a new connector road up to Syrup Mill. In the southern access that will be directly across from the interchange, there will be a roundabout there on Community Road. There are no roundabouts on 21, except for the one near I-77.
Thank you, Allison. All right. The announcement of the partnership with Midlands Technical College is great news. Just interested if there is an interest in partnering with the local high schools to see of potential interest of young graduates who are ready to go to work after they graduate.
I would suggest to you that this project, as the Secretary mentioned earlier, is transformative. I expect it will change the way we approach education from K through 12 straight through the technical colleges. This is going to have ripple effects for generations to come. I fully expect we'll be entirely engaged with Richland 2, Richland 1. I expect probably the schools, even in Fairfield and neighboring counties, will be impacted. These folks will pay well, but they'll demand a lot.
Yeah, so just to echo Jeff's thoughts, I think they fully intend to partner with the schools around them and to work with the students to let them know what kind of skill sets they need to have to be future employees, and to work with the schools to create the curriculum that creates those skills. So I think you'll see a lot of partnership from the company.
Thank you both. There was a question regarding the roundabout circle that is going in by Cobblestone Park, and asked if that was related to the penny tax.
The original roundabout at Cobblestone Park was part of the town of Blythewood's master plan, so that was adopted by the penny tax program. I think a few times we answered questions about that from residents, and we said, hey, this was your idea, not ours. But at the same time, Europeans love roundabouts. So I think that's why you're seeing so many different drawings. They just like to keep the traffic moving.
Thank you, Jeff. Go ahead. If we could make sure we submit any questions we have through that, so we can make sure that we get these answered to as well, that would be greatly appreciated. The next question: What is the expected pay for plant employees? Richland County already has an affordable housing problem. Will the pay be able to cover those cost of living in this area, particularly with the housing market's price increase?
Yeah, so I think Jeff or someone mentioned that right now what we expect the average hourly worker to make is somewhere right around $60,000, and the average salaried employee to make around $100,000. The company wants the employees to have a stake in the company. I think that you can expect probably some very innovative compensation programs from the company, in addition to wages, because I think they want their employees to be very vested in the future of their company. So I think you'll find that their jobs are going to be very high quality jobs and relatively high paying jobs to what you see elsewhere in the county.
Thank you, sir. Our next question: what is the estimated square footage of the plant?
So I'm trying to remember here. Somewhere between 13.5 million and 14 million. Now, I will say that's at full build. When we flashed this picture up on the screen, it had a lot of buildings. Phase 1 is only a portion of that, and I cannot recall exactly how many square feet that is.
All right. Next question: what recommendation would you give to the town to help ensure this is a win-win for Blythewood and Scout?
My recommendation would be to welcome these folks in the way that South Carolinians can do, and I think they want very much to consider this as their home, as I mentioned from the start. And I think they want to meet with the community and get to know the community. I think they're planning some community events in the future, and hopefully, all of that will work out. And that, I think, look for opportunities for partnership with them, and express those as you see them.
I would echo the Secretary's comments. I think in a different speech, he mentioned the transformative nature of BMW in the upstate. I think that could have the same impact on this area for decades to come, generations to come.
All right. The next question, will there be a smell associated with the plant for the surrounding community similar to that of a water treatment plant or paper mill, or any smell at all?
That's a good question. Obviously, you all are familiar with painting, and you are familiar that you can smell when you paint in your house. The difference between what we're seeing at the paper mill, probably the one up in Rock Hill, or water treatment plants that you have various locations of the state, as those areas are uncontrolled. We call them fugitive in nature. They're large areas that would make it infeasible to capture those emissions and control them. For a paint shop, which you see at Mercedes, Volvo, and BMW here in South Carolina already, the difference is that we capture all of those painting emissions from various processes in the plant. So we will take those emissions and we will oxidize them, which is a fancy word for destroying them. And we will bring those down to levels that are the lowest we can possibly do with today's technology. I obviously go to a lot of these automotive plants in South Carolina, and I can honestly say that I do not smell anything when I'm outside the plant. You would be hard pressed to walk by any of our current automotive facilities, which are new, and smell anything. Certainly this one will be as good or better controlled than all the three predecessors here in South Carolina. So I would expect the same from Scout.
There was another question. Are there plans to pave Locklear Road?
At this time, there is no plan to pave Locklear Road. If you've seen the Blythewood road widening that the county is doing, their plan currently shows relocating the top portion of Locklear to tie into Community Road. So at this time, we are not paving it.
Our nex question, and we've got about 10 minutes to go, so we're going to try to get to the remainder of your questions. Will the presence of Scout Motors help to increase or decrease our home values?
I think in general you can expect home values to increase. There will be people that move here from Germany and from other places. We expect them to buy homes. I expect it to have a positive impact on home values.
All right. Let's see here, next question. Says you're doing a new traffic study. Shouldn't we wait to see what the new plant does to traffic versus circle plan? Which
So that's part of a traffic study. They don't just look at current traffic. It's typical to look at 20 years in the future. So that doesn't only include just your typical growth through every year. It also includes any new development coming in. So the traffic study we perform and the recommendations from that traffic study will be based on a development 20 years from now, which will include the full build out of this site.
Sorry about that. I turned into Ron Burgundy. Apparently, I will read what is ever on the phone. Has Richland 2 school district officials been invited to the discussion related to the impact on the school system, both from an infrastructure and financial perspective, i.e. tax breaks reducing the funding to the school system?
Yeah, I can address the local incentive package is pretty standard from what we've offered in the past. It is not, let me see how to put this. We didn't get naked on this. It's a good deal for the county. It's a good deal for the school districts. It will be an excellent source of income long-term from the school districts. This has moved so fast. I think I mentioned 2 months. That a lot of those conversations that will be had are on the way. So we haven't been into Richland 2 and really dug in yet, but I expect those conversations to begin here in the near future. But Richland 2, as I mentioned, gets 75% of the revenue from this new facility. So they are part of the game. They're our partners in every way.
And one of the things that we also have to remember, this just was announced a couple of days ago. So it's still conversations that need to be had, and certainly other parties that need to be at the table that's going to help bring this project along. And I'm quite sure the school districts are on that docket to be at the table.
Thank you. Next question, should we be concerned about any chemicals or hazardous materials being brought in by rail?
So this one we may have to get back to you on, but I'm pretty positive there are no hazardous materials coming in via rail for this facility.
All right, our next question, how far is the setback across from Cobblestone Park, and will there be any noise from the plant that would be heard in that neighborhood? I think we answered that one before.
So this kind of goes in hand what I was speaking to earlier. I did forget about the 300-foot buffer that'll be planned along Blythewood Road. So you're looking at a football field plus the width of the Blythewood Road right-of-way that this facility will be offset, and then that facility itself is offset a good distance inset of the site from that 300-foot buffer. So I don't expect noise to be a big issue for the residents of Cobblestone.
Thank you, and we've got about 5 minutes left, so we have a couple more questions we're going to try to get through. Will there be a meeting with the residents and Scout Motors team?
Yes, as I indicated, they are anxious to meet the community, and I think they are in the process of planning several events where the community can attend and meet the company.
Awesome. With the EV car production, will there be more charging stations throughout the state?
So the answer is yes. The governor established a task force that's being led by the Secretary of Transportation and DOT to study our charging infrastructure, both currently and make plans for the future. And one thing that is very important to the work of that task force is to ensure that not just the urban areas see increases in charging infrastructure, but rural areas as well. So that is certainly on the table.
All right, and then our next question, with the new roads, who will maintain them after they are built? Is the SCDOT, Richland County, et cetera?
Sure. So all of the roads are currently owned by DOT, so they will continue to be maintained by DOT. DOT will also take over the new interchange and the new connector road that connects from that over to Highway 21. The only road we are anticipating the county to take over maintenance of will be a new connector road that goes from Blythewood, kind of through that top corner of the property, over to Community Road.
All right. When the hiring begins, how many Blythewood residents will be taken into consideration?
Yeah, so, I mean, obviously, they anticipate doing that. One of the great advantages that South Carolina had in this competition that was mentioned, where we were competing with a number of other states around the country, was our workforce. And this area around Richland County, Fairfield County, other adjoining counties, is a very largely untapped labor resource, and they're very confident that they can meet their job needs from the community itself. It's interesting, we did establish a portal for people to indicate that they're interested. And as Jeff mentioned, this has only been a few days since this project was announced. We checked with the technical college folks today, and they already have over 1,100 folks that have entered their information into that portal, and over 90% of the folks that are in that portal are from South Carolina.
All right, and this will be our last question of the evening. I'm looking forward to growth here. What happened to green spaces for us that were planned?
I think from a planning standpoint, we're still planning to live up to green spaces. So we mentioned the buffer. The buffer surrounds the entire facility. I think I've alluded to the fact that the plans changed on how we would develop this industrial park, but I think the end result will be something that everybody here in Blythewood will be happy with.
All right. That will basically wrap up our Q&A session now. So I want to thank all of you for coming out and engaging tonight. A big thank you to our speakers for taking time to explain the project and to answer your questions. If you weren't able to get your questions answered while you're here tonight, you can email those questions to, and I'll repeat this again, scout@richlandcountysc.gov. Again, that's scout@richlandcountysc.gov, and we will attempt to address those as soon as possible. Also, as a reminder, members of the public are welcome to attend the next Richland County Council meeting on March 21st for additional opportunity for input. If you did fill out one of the post surveys, you can leave those on your chair, or you can leave those outside by the table, and we'll be sure to correspond with you accordingly through that as well. To learn more about the announcement for Scout Motors, visit the Richland County Economic Development Office website at Richland County SC. And everybody have a great night.
Good stuff, Mr. Mayor.
All right. Sir, good job.
Thank you, sir. Mr. Secretary, thank you so much, sir. Thank you. Yes, sir.
Sir, thank you for coming. Yeah, everybody's standing up.
Thank you, man. I appreciate you, man.
Thank you, Mr. Secretary. Appreciate it. Good job.
I do.